Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today, I want to share with you the 5 best casts and the 5 worst casts of my career. When I say that, it's the same 5 casts. Not only were they potentially the best, they were also the worst. So, as much as this story flabbergasts me, it makes me want to throw up too. Like, that's how crazy these 5 casts are. So I want to share this story with you. Before I do, I want to remind you, if you want to support the channel because you like the content that I put out, please use my Tackle Warehouse affiliate link to make your tackle purchases. That is a great way to support the channel, and it is so very much appreciated. Also, at the same time, if you're looking for more content from me, you can check out the lake breakdowns, the one-on-one virtual lessons that I do with Fish the Moment, or you can also become a member of the channel. So check those out. All of that's in the link, the video description, and it'll provide you with some more information. All right, so let's get into this story. It just pains me to talk about this because it's just ridiculous. So this goes back to the first time I was at Lake Champlain. This is a long time ago at this point, probably 13 to 15 years ago. It was a bass open. So I get there, we're fishing, everything is going just fine. The first day I think I had like 16 plus pounds of largemouth, which were surprised because I happened to go to one of my smallmouth spots. I think it was an August tournament, and they turned into largemouth, which I was fine with. So day 1 went fine. Day 2 did not go well, but it involves the 5 best and worst casts of my career. So I ended up pulling up on a point. We had, I'm going to say, 2 to 3 foot waves. It was rough. Like, you could not, at that time, there was no spot lock. I could not keep the boat in position. I was doing everything I could to ride the waves and keep the boat basically where I was at. And I had a point where I had caught some fish in practice. I had marked a bunch of fish. So I pulled up there. I knew it was rough, but I'm like, I'm going to give this a try. I pull up, I fire out a perch-colored Megabass 110 jerkbait, and I jerked it twice, and I loaded up with a big one. This fish was probably a 4-pound smallmouth. I fought it, I'm going to say 2/3 of the way to the boat, to the point where my co-angler at the time had a chance to net it at one point, and then it took a bunch of drag out. Now remember, I used 6-pound test fluorocarbon with a light action spinning rod. So to have him that close is one thing, but smallmouth in the summer, I mean, he peeled like 20 or 30 feet of drag at one point and got a distance away from the boat. He jumped 3 or 4 times, eventually pulled off. In my frustration, I just kind of put my head down. I was like, oh, that was one I needed. As I'm kind of like trying to regroup, my line tightens up and my rod gets pulled out of my hand. And I'm like, I got another one. So I start fighting a whole fresh fish. This fish peels off 20, 30 feet of drag. It's another 3.5-pound class fish going nuts. I get it to the boat and it pulls off at the boat. I'm like, crazy. I just lost 2 big fish. I fire out again. The next cast, I jerk it once or twice, loads up. And I mean, keep in mind, it's really rough. It's a cluster in the boat at this point. I get this fish on, it's probably a 3-pounder, jumps, gets off. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I fire out again, jerk it a couple of times, loads up, another 4-pound class fish, fight him, jumps. The first time he jumps, bait goes one way, he goes another way, and as soon as my bait hits the water, I got another 4-pounder on. Fighting this fish, I'm like, come on, I gotta land this fish. I fight him probably within 30 feet of the boat, just pulls off. Before I can even recognize, like, that he's off, I got another one that's on. I end up catching that fish. It's a 4.25 pounder. Throw out again. Next cast. So at this point, keep in mind, I've made 3 casts, and I've had, what have I had? 6 fish on? Because I had 3 fish on that 3rd cast. I lost one, got one on, lost them, got them on, and it was a 4.25. So 3 casts, I'm at six fish. Next cast, I throw out, I jerk it down twice, load up again, another 3 to 4 pound class fish. First jump, almost instantly jumps, gets off. Bait hits the water. At this point, I'm ready. Jerk it twice, let it sit, loads up again, fighting the fish. I get him almost to the boat, and he pulls off. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Next cast, fire out, jerk it down. I get like a 2.5 pounder on. I'm fighting him. Now keep in mind, 6 pound test, light spinning rod. I mean, I'm doing everything I can to fight the fish, keep the boat in the same position. I get this fish to right within the boat. And I don't know what I have I don't recall what I have. I don't have anything in my boat that matters much. I think on this day, I ended up weighing in like 11 or 12 pounds. And that's with a 4 1/4. I get this fish right underneath the boat, and he comes up, turns, bait pulls off. I'm looking right over the side of the boat. I mean, it's right under my trolling motor. It's probably that far under the water, the jerk bait, just suspending there. I'm like, there's no way. One comes flying out of nowhere, like a 4 pounder, grabs it. I'm watching this happen. I mean, he's that far under the boat. And instead of turning around with it, the fish comes straight up. I mean, he hits it, comes straight up, jumps 2 feet out of the air. And like, while that's happening, I'm kind of setting the hook, and he hits and he turns, hits the water, does a power dive, and just breaks my line just like that. I never had another bite. I never got another bite. That was 5 casts. I landed 1 4 1/4 pounder, and I lost 9 on 5 casts. And every one of those 9 were, I'm going to say, 3 to 4.5 pounds, other than 1 2.5 pounder. It was unbelievable to me. And it was one of those things that as soon as that fish broke me off, I thought to myself, I'm not going to get another bite. Like, you hear stories of people talking about a fish breaking you off, or you lose a fish, and it just like the fish goes down and tells every other bass in that area, don't bite, don't bite, there's an angler up there. That's exactly what happened in this case. It was unbelievable. I hit that spot 3 more times the rest of that day, because this happened at like 10:30. I mean, I had a 20-pound bag. Now keep in mind, Lake Champlain's a great lake, but back then, Lake Champlain, if you could catch 14 to 15 pounds, you were cashing a check. In this case, I had 16 something the first day, and I had probably a 20-pound bag of fish, close to it at least, 18 for sure, on those 5 casts, and it would have really skyrocketed me up the standings. Instead, I ended up catching 1 big fish. It was the only big fish I had that day. And I mean, it was like they vanished. There must have been so many smallmouth there. And I broke that one off, and it was just like they disappeared. I never got another bite on that spot. I don't know exactly what happened, but that's like the best 5 casts when you consider on 5 casts I had 10 big fish on, and it's the worst 5 casts because out of those 10 fish, I landed 1. Brutal. It makes my heart hurt every time I think about that. Anyways, guys, I guess the one thing you can learn from that is with smallmouth specifically, a lot of times there's a trailer fish, and it's so not uncommon to lose a fish and you just let your bait sit there and another one will come and eat it. And generally speaking, they travel in roughly the same size. So if you lost a 4 pounder, there might be another 4 pounder with it. So let your bait sit there. That's the one thing I can say. I mean, that was like the biggest aha moment for me. It was like, man, every time one would come off, I just jerked it and let it sit there. And it might have been 10 seconds sometimes before one found it, but one found it. And there was a pod of them there. Just brutal. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed that story. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, stay tuned. We'll have another new video for you tomorrow.